Hey, everybody. Welcome back to 12 Days of PODMAS of Built Like This podcast. I am your host, Maxine, and we're on episode 8. PODMAS, episode 8, day 8. Welcome aboard. If you are just now tuning in, thank you and welcome. And make sure you are listening to the previous 7 episodes so far. Again, it's only 12 days, so we have 4 more episodes to go before the new year. And then we'll take a week off and resume with our usual programming. So I just want to start off with the fact that Jonathan Majors should have known better. Let's start off with that. Jonathan Majors should have known better. According to all of the latest headlines, he has been found guilty, or the verdict. Let's start off with that. The verdict included a 12-person jury. No, sorry, I got that completely wrong. 6-person. So 6 people were on the jury, and they've decided collectively to give him the guilty verdict. So that is that. Um, his sentencing won't be until February 6th. So he has from now until then. I guess if he could appeal, maybe he could. I don't know. I don't know how the process exactly is. But yeah, I guess it's official. And it's disappointing nonetheless. Like, obviously, I've been on here team Jonathan Majors, right? I've been on here trying to support him as best as I can. And just in our previous Podmas episode, or even the one before that, I said how it looks like he's getting the victory because of the evidence, the video evidence that we've been seeing on social media of him literally running away from Grace Jabari, this white woman, running away from her. Yet that wasn't enough for the verdict to be an innocent or not guilty one. So I'm just very disappointed. The court system hate black men. And that's that. Like, let's be very clear. Not every guilty verdict means that the person is guilty. And not every not guilty verdict means that the person is not guilty. You know what I mean? I think oftentimes we just immediately assume, oh, well, the verdict is guilty. That means he's guilty. No, that just means there were other factors in play, right? Maybe there was some political corruption of some sort. Excuse me. Maybe um they just have a bias against him as a black man, or just has a man lesson here. Stop dating these white women. Like, that's it. Like, literally, stop dating these white women. As a black man in the industry who is on the up and up, who was clearly getting all of the just amazing opportunity in Hollywood. He was climbing the ladder, rightfully so. He's such a strong talent, you guys. Like I feel like despite this scandal around him, we cannot deny how talented this man is. He's an incredible actor. Incredible actor. Like, wow. So I just hate that this may cloud his talent. But I just think ultimately, yeah, we see oftentimes these black men getting in relationships with white women or non-black women and find themselves in this mess. Like, why were you with her in the first place, Jonathan? God damn. Now he's with Megan Good. And yes, I've been in support of their relationship because I just didn't want to kick her back in because I noticed that to be a trend, right? Oftentimes we see women, black women in particular, who decide to be with a um a blemished black man, blemished because maybe his historical um relationships don't pay him in the best light, blemished because of this ongoing trial of him allegedly being the physical abuser in this relationship. All of this doesn't look good for Megan Good. Because why would she date a man like this who is actively going through something that looks so ugly? It looks ugly and bad on paper. And I didn't like that. I didn't like when people are so quick to get mad at the woman for the man, right? Like, what does that have to do with her? It has nothing to do with her. If she chooses to be with him despite of it all, what does it matter? Like, we don't know how well he treats her. I don't think how someone is in one situation means that that is who they are at every type of like, no, how you are with your ex doesn't mean that is how you will be with me. Period. Like it's such a lazy judgment, a lazy excuse that people will make. Oh, well, once a cheater, always a cheater, or once an abuser. I don't know. But the point is, I just think we don't know the intricacies of their relationship. And it's unfair to now just poo poo on Megan Good's name. Like, that's so silly. Oh, but yeah, I think the lesson learned here is stop dating these white women. God, I don't know. I don't know what he saw in her anyway. And she wasn't even like she's from another country white, you know what I mean? So it was like, what? Ugh, it is so disappointing. I really did not expect for this to be the result, considering all of the evidence that we have been, well, just the video evidence that we saw of him literally running away from her. But I guess it just proves that white women always prevail in the court of law. They always prevail. They will always be the victory here. There will always be the successor, or whatever the word is. Like, they will always win in these type of situations in particular. They, despite evidence proving that she is unstable, that she may have, looking like she did, in my opinion, but she may have been aggressive with him first, and at the very least, Majors probably just restrained her. Okay. But according to this article here in the Hollywood Reporter, I just wrote down a couple of notes. In Grace Jabari's testimony, she testified that she saw a text on his phone and it read, quote, "Oh, how I wish to be kissing you," end quote. Now, the rumor is Megan Good and Jonathan Majors were allegedly seeing each other during this time, which is uh maybe the explanation as to how they quickly began dating, at least to us, right after this debacle. Who knows if that's true? So, one could wonder, was this text message from Megan Good or was it from another woman? So Grace Jabari sees this text message. Of course, she's upset. At this time, according to the video, we know that it's late at night. So clearly, they're both intoxicated. She's definitely not sober, right? So she's intoxicated. She sees this. She's now fueled up even more. And so she snatches the phone from him. She snatches his phone and he pries her fingers trying to release his phone from her hand. He grabs her arm. According to her testimony, according to Grace Jabari's testimony, this is what happened. He grabs her arm and right hand, twisted her forearm, and struck her head to get his phone away from her. What's the lesson here? Maxine, don't do it. Maxine, don't do it. Don't touch other people's properties. That's it. Look, I'm not saying it's okay to be physically abusive or violent. I'm not. I'm just saying A plus B equals C. Things lead to other things, right? What's the first thing here? She took his property. It reminds me of the videos that we will see online of these troubled kids, these troubled students at school, and the teacher grabs the phone or any type of possession that the student has, whether it's a Game Boy, whatever it is that they have. She grabs the device from the student. The student, the teacher knows, is already a little cuckoo, already unstable, already has a lot going on, doesn't have a father in his life, just some shit going on. The student then what? Fucks up, like beats the teacher's ass for taking my possession. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay to beat people up. I'm not. I'm just saying that is what happens. That's what happens when you take people's things. You have to keep your things keep your hands to yourself. Don't assume, oh, now I could grab your. No, even like working in education, I had to learn quick. Yeah, I'm not gonna take a student's personal possession. At the very least, I will just say, put it away. Put it away, right? I'll give them maybe 2 warnings. And at that point, issue a consequence. So whether that consequence is a demerit, an infraction, or calling the AP to come into the classroom and then handle that student, whatever that looks like. But I am not touching your item. I'm not touching your book bag. I'm not touching your phone. I'm not touching you at this point. No, because look, some of these kids are crazy. And even if they're not crazy, it is a personal violation. It really is. Like, you don't have the right. I don't care who you are. I don't care what position you hold, especially in relation to me. Like, if you're quote unquote my superior, or if I'm your quote unquote superior, I'm not going to exercise that authority over you in a way that's abusive just because you shouldn't be on your phone right now. Cool. It's annoying that you're on your phone, but I'm not going to potentially get my head knocked because you're unstable and I took a possession of yours. And now we're in this court battle because I will be suing your ass. I will be suing your broke parents and the district, shit, and the state of Texas. If I ever, I don't have to worry about that now, thank God. But in my previous school place, at my previous schools that I worked at, shit, that could have been a situation. But thank God we didn't have to go. We didn't have to go there. The point is, keep your hands to yourself. Okay. So that's her testimony. And I think maybe this testimony probably is what led the 6-person jury to their decision of giving him a guilty verdict. It's just also unfortunate. And, white women always get their justice. Now, I posted a video on my social media page. Remember the music video of 50 Cent questions? I asked you, I think it's 21 questions, something like that. Anyway, in that music video, Megan Good is the lead role in that music video. And 50 Cent is in prison. He's on a phone call talking to Megan Good, who's his girl, at least his main girl, who knows. And he's asking her, will you still hold me down? I just got 21 questions for you. If I do a life bid, would you still hold me down? And she's on the other line, just like, so yes, baby, anything for you. I love you so much. I'll hold you down to just like assuring him, letting him know that she's a ride or die, she's a down ass bitch. And I just posted that in relation. I just kind of spliced a couple of clips together in relation to her relationship with Jonathan Majors, who's clearly not doing a life sentence, right? Like I said, I think it's only, I heard it's just gonna be a year. And even at that point, it may not even be a full year for him to serve. So I just made a funny little reel on it. So if you are not already following Built Like This podcast on Instagram, make sure you are doing so now. So go ahead and click the link. The show notes includes the link to all of the necessary destination for this podcast. So make sure you go ahead and do that. And just a reminder, if you have not subscribed to this podcast yet, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the things, I encourage you to do so now. Leave a positive review if you are liking this content. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And let's get into the next topic. So, in the last episode, we discussed this HBO docu-series called The Garden: Commune or Cult. I finished the series, and I'm assuming there'll be a second season, because the way that the first season ended, it seems like there will be more to come. Now the question is it a commune or is it a cult? I mean, it's kind of hard to say definitely what it is, because it's a mixture of both, I would say. And I think that's really how cults are sometimes. Like, they come off like a community and then they demonstrate themselves as a cult, maybe deceitful in their own ways. And that kind of proves a cultish way of being. I know I came on this podcast yesterday talking about how I don't like the overusage of the word cult. And I still stand in that. I stand on business still. And I do still stand on the fact that I appreciate people deciding to live life alternatively, for a variety of reasons, for a plethora of reasons. People decide to live life according to their wants and needs for themselves. So that's totally fine. As I finished this season, I wondered a couple of things. So, with this, the way that is presented to us in the show, we see that there's a 10-day trial of newcomers who come onto the land, and they just immerse themselves into the community. And by the end of the 10 days, there's a community, or they call it council, which is a community meeting. And the newcomer will tell the group how much they appreciate their time and their request to stay. And as a council, as a group, the entire group will decide whether or not they would like to keep the newcomer. They have 10 seconds, 10 silent seconds to object. If anyone wants to object, that person will say their objection or just say, no, that's an objection. And the interesting about they present themselves as an egalitarian community. And basically what that means is everyone is equal. No, there's no hierarchy. So they say there's no hierarchy. There's no one calling the shots. If one person decides, no, I don't like this idea, then because of that one person, that idea won't come into fruition. That's how it is. Now, That, my friend, I don't agree with. I do think maybe I'm pro cults because that's the reason why they have it in that type of way, in an egalitarian type of way, because it 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 contrasts the expectation of a cult, right? Typically with a cult, there is a leader, there is a head in charge, there's a committee, there's some type of leadership. But with this community here, they present themselves consistently, at least vocally and through their actions. You see that they are staunch in being an egalitarian society. So it may look good on paper, right? Oh, we're all equal. You as a man don't have more power over me as a woman. Sure, looks good on paper. You feel seen, you feel heard, but it actually is silly. It's silly. There is a need for leadership, there is a need for hierarchy, there is a need for cults. No, but seriously, that like things should be done accordingly. And the issues with an egalitarian society is if just one little, not to say little, but you know what I mean? If there's just one person out of a group of 20, one person who decides, hey, I don't really like this idea, then that idea won't come into place. And that's just so silly. Like, whatever happened to having a majority rule type of society? If the majority of us feel like this decision is what's best, then let's move forward. It just makes more sense that way. But I think because of how things may be done on a normal basis, right? In regular society, things are more done in a archaical, oh, that word is hard. In a hierarchy, their their position is to do something totally opposite of that. And again, it looks good on paper, but it's not effective. It's not effective at all. But anyway, I encourage you all to watch the episode or watch the series. It's actually very entertaining. And it's like a survivor-esque type of show. Like, who could survive? Who's gonna last? They have their confessionals, they talk about their experience. And at one point, it makes me think, like, is this real? But I believe it is, according to how they started and how they became famous. It became famous because of TikTok, apparently, shining light to, like I said in the last episode, a situation when someone of the community decided to kill, skin, and eat and wear a cat. So, you know, anyway, I just feel like we need to get back to just a social order that is more effective. And in this case of, alternative lifestyles, of course you have the right to do it as you please. Hopefully it's all legal and morally code, but this whole egalitarian society is just not, it's not effective. Like, there's a point in the show when they couldn't effectively or efficiently get to a point when they could decide what type of system should be in place when it comes to security, when it comes to measures in place for inclement weather, when it's storming outside, when there's a tornado. What is the plan? And there is no plan. Everybody just kind of like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Yet they all came together to create this like this tower, this wooden tower that spelled the word fear. And the activity for the night was to, after they build it, put it all up together, they burn the tower down to symbolize fear has been a factor in our lives for so long, and it's been so detrimental. So what we want to do is tear down the word fear. We want to eradicate that from our lives. And it's like, okay, but the fucking point. What is the plan for when a tornado happens? Like, that is like, we can't always live in Delulu land. Look, I am totally a fan of Delulu land. I am totally a fan of, just living in your own fantasy. I think that's fun. But in times when we have to face reality, what is the plan? Like, we have to be realistic here, and they don't they don't operate on reality at all. It's just so silly. And I think that really just has a lot to do with the egalitarian society that they've created. So anyway, if you haven't watched it yet, please go ahead and do so. It's so interesting, and let me know what you think. But I also want to just end off with, apparently, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg has bought a mansion, and in Hawaii. So he bought a compound in Hawaii. So it says here, Mark Zuckerberg is reportedly building a Hawaii compound with plans for an escape hatch, blind doors, and an underground bunker. Now, look, Mark Zuckerberg, he is of that. Honestly, he's an AI. I mean, is that really, is there someone in there? Does he have a soul? Something's up with him. He just looks so strange. Anyway, he is doing this for what, right? I was just talking last episode about this need that people are pushing of a fear-mongering agenda. And I find that to be so just exhausting, to say the least. And so with him, him being this wealthy tech guy, the creator of Facebook and responsible for us having Instagram pages and another set of income online because of his creation. Sure, thank you, but it just makes me wonder, what does he know that we may not know, right? um what is the date for the end of time? Does he know the details for that? Who knows? But anyway, that kind of launched me into thinking about, well, actually that launched me into being interested in watching The Garden, even though I already like cult type of stuff because of maybe my upbringing. But anyway, that was interesting. So yeah, he is in the process of building his own compound with an escape hatch in it. So we'll see if anything comes about with that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate every listen, and I will check in with you all tomorrow. Goodbye.